Hello, BookTube. I know it's Wednesday, but I completely forgot to do a tag on Tuesday. And I have carved out a small amount of time today to do an extra video or two. It's a miserable day. It was a beautiful morning. Bright, bright, buttery sunlight, blue skies with fluffy white clouds, and that all changed completely. It's been pouring rain and thunder and lightning uh, all afternoon. And that's actually been conducive because neither the bean nor I have been tempted to go out and go on long walks, which we like to do. She's not demanding as a dog, as a walking companion. She loves to be out and about. She loves to meet people. And so it's very tempting. On a beautiful day, it's very tempting. We weren't tempted at all winter. She doesn't like the cold. She doesn't like the wind. She doesn't like the rain. But she's okay in beautiful weather, and we haven't been tempted at all. So I've got a huge amount of work done, which is great because it's deadline week. But I've carved out a tiny bit of time, and I want to do a tag, but I'm making something a tag. There are plenty of tags that I have to do. I am backlogged on them, and yet I am weaponizing a tag of my own, and I'm hoping that you all do it because I love it. In my 11K Q&A video, a viewer of mine, a commentator of mine, Justin Raymond, wondered if I had ever done something called the Colbert Questionnaire, Stephen Colbert's questionnaire, that I guess he did to guests on his show. And I'd never done it, and I'd never heard of it, and I love it. So I'm turning it into the Colbert Questionnaire Tag, and I'm going to do that now. And I also want to tag you all. Anybody who's up for doing tags and answering these questions. These are nosy questions of an offbeat kind of nature. I wish there were more of them. And the first one is, what is the best sandwich? And there are lots of candidates here, but my favorite, my sentimental favorite, has always been just plain grape jelly. Just a jelly sandwich. That has always been my favorite. Especially if I have the patience to let it sit for a bit so that the jelly seeps through the bread, but I never do have the patience to do that. The next question is, what is one thing that you own that you should really throw out? And I am not only should I really throw it out, but I'm going to, as soon as I can, remember to look up online the state regulations for how to do it. And that is the burner phones that I got. I got a couple of little disposable, rechargeable cell phones that don't work. They don't work any better than my actual cell phone does as a phone. I just seem to be under some sort of telephonic curse where I get a phone, I set up an account, I can make a call now and then, as I did with both those burner phones, and then it stops working. Just stops working. Won't take an emergency call, won't take the automated routed call to the help center of the provider, won't do anything like that, won't do anything at all, it just becomes a brick. And that's happened to like 4 cell phones in a row for me. My current cell phone, my iPhone 7S or 6S, I absolutely love. It is fantastic as a mini computer, content device, even a reading device, but it will not call. It will not make a phone call. And this is going on, this is well over a year. All throughout the second half of 2019, that was true, and it was bothering me. And I kept thinking, okay, well, what you need to do is just put on your big boy pants and go to the phone dealership in downtown Boston and bring a book and wait around until one of the dude bros there is ready to come and help you, and then just say, what I want you to do, whether it takes a new SIM card or whatever it takes, what I want you to do is make this a working phone before I walk out the door. Do whatever you have to do and make whatever changes you have to make, but make this work as a phone. I know they have the capability to do that. I know that it's a fairly easy problem. It must be. Because nothing traumatic has happened to the phone. The SIM card is in there. The SIM card is brand new. I thought maybe the SIM card was the problem, so I got a brand new one. It's got to be something easy, something fairly activatable. And I kept putting that off because every time I go there, it's like 2 hours to wait around. And then the pandemic hit. And suddenly I was not going to go to a small enclosed dealership and sit around all day. And so I've gone this whole time without a phone, without using it. The only phone I have belongs to my surly houseboy. So that's the only time when I can call the outside world. It's ridiculous. It's not a thing that I use often. I don't use a phone often. I'd much prefer to talk on Zoom or Voxer or FaceTime. But you don't want to not have a phone. And so, but the burner phones that I have now absolutely do not work. And I'm not going to pump any more money into SIM cards for them or anything else. So what I really need to do is get rid of them. But I'm under the impression that there are intricacies involved in throwing away electronics. Or maybe one of you would know better. Maybe it's not the right idea to throw it away at all. Maybe the idea is to factory reset it, wipe it clean, and then send it somewhere. Maybe there's a technological reclamation site. I'm sure that these phones can be made useful, and they could be made useful for somebody, if that's true. I should look into it. I don't know. And it's not just phones either. It's a bunch of other stuff. I don't know exactly how to dispose of technology. I know that it has some elements in it that you don't want broken open and exposed to the air. I know that it has elements in it that can be dangerous. So I know you can't just like take a laptop and dump it in the garbage. I'm sure plenty of people do. But you're not supposed to. I don't think you're supposed to. And the other, months ago, actually it's months ago, I always say the other day because time passes when you're 28 years old. But a while ago, I took out all of my laptop computers and charged them all up, and just on a whim, I put them out on the kitchen floor and arranged them in a half circle and took a picture of all of them. There was like 15 or 20 of them. And I put the picture on Instagram, and quite a few of you emailed me and said that this is extraordinary. This deserves an intervention. You have too many laptops. And that's true. I do. And there's no sense throwing them away when I can donate them somehow. There must be a way. I just haven't looked into it. But those are things I need to get rid of. In the general heading of the thing you should throw away. If by throw away we mean get rid of, one thing that I should really get rid of is my excess technology. I have too much technology. Now, my little bean is very moody. When it's raining like this, she's very moody. So I should either get rid of those things, figure out a way, some donation place or something like that to get rid of them, or maybe you are the answer. Maybe one of you out there needs a laptop and either doesn't want to go out to get one in a pandemic or doesn't have the money to get one. Maybe that's true. I have about 10 laptops here. Some of them are Chromebooks, but Chromebooks are wonderful. I have about 10 devices here that I don't use, and having excess technology like that around bugs me. So that's something that I need to get rid of. I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. I haven't investigated how to do it. Okay. She's making her bed. It's amazing. She's only 10 pounds, but she can make as much trouble as a little hippo. And my own little hippo used to do that. My basset hound used to make trouble like this all the time. Oh, Frida, will you settle down? I'm trying to make a video, baby. You're just a baby bean. Oh, the baby bean. I should count my blessings. If I had set all those laptops up on the kitchen floor when I still had my basset hound Lucy, she would have trundled out there to greet each one of them and knock them all over. Anyway, that's my answer to what I should throw away, is excess technology. And by throw away, I mean get rid of somehow. Rehome it somehow. I have way too much excess technology. I have one 2019 Chromebook. It is my most modern, newest Chromebook. It's a wonderful machine. I absolutely love it. I have a MacBook Air, an 11-inch MacBook Air that I love. I have a 13-inch MacBook Pro that I really love, but it's 10 years old. It's not taking updates anymore, and sooner or later, things are going to start to fall. They're going to start to fail on it. I have an iPad with a Magic Keyboard that I love, and it's a very modern device. It's from 2020, I think, so it's good for a long time. And I have this iPhone 6S, and I don't need anything else. I don't need anything else. I worried for a long time about having technology fail on me. And I realized in 2019 that those were atavistic worries. Those worries came from the old days, from 2010, 2011, 2009, when I had one computer. I had a little plastic EEE PC. And that was it. I didn't have a cell phone, didn't have an iPad, didn't have anything else, didn't have any other way to work. If that machine glitched, and it often did, I was helpless. Absolutely helpless. And that developed in me a taste for technological redundancy that I don't need to worry about anymore. I don't need to worry about that taste anymore because Chromebooks are cheap and they are great. They will work for anything that you need. And you can get, like for instance, a not particularly new but perfectly serviceable Chromebook for $50. So I know that in an emergency, I can have a $50 machine that can do everything I need it to do shipped to me overnight. So my redundancy fears have gone away, and with it should go all of the technology that was born of those fears. But we're only on the second question, so let's scurry on. The next one is, what is the scariest animal? That is, of course, human beings. Of course, Homo sapiens sapiens is the scariest animal. It's the animal that is by far responsible for the most extinctions and is continuing to cause extinctions every day. It's the animal that is most likely by far in the history of life on this planet to destroy this planet as a biome for living life, for living organisms. So yeah, humans win by a long shot. The next one is apples or oranges. Granny Smith apples, absolutely. Next question is, have you ever asked someone for their autograph? If so, who? I have never really understood autographs. I guess it's a collectible thing that I really don't get, but I've never asked anyone for an autograph. No, I have often approached people, famous people of one kind or another, in public, and often when I have done that, they have expected that I was going to ask for an autograph, when really I just wanted to know what they like to read, or what they're doing today, or just stop them just to tell them, you have given me an enormous amount of pleasure in my life, and I have a chance now to thank you face to face. I just want to thank you. That's all. I'm not asking anything of you. I just want to thank you. You didn't know you were doing that. You don't know me, but nevertheless, it was a gift, and I appreciate it. But never for an autograph, no. The next question is, what do you think happens when we die? I know exactly what happens when we die. It's not what I think happens when we die. I know what happens when we die. You decompose. And all the elements that go into making you as a person dissipate. Your brain is an unbelievably complex piece of organic tissue. It is extremely advanced and extremely oxygen hungry. It's an enormous investiture of energy. It was not to anthropomorphize, but it was a huge gamble on the part of natural selection for humans to develop a brain this big. It was a gamble in every way, including just raw physiology. The human birth canal is not made for the kind of brain size that humans have. It's dangerous. And it's also a huge investment of energy. Humans are completely helpless for years after they're born. Think about almost any other animal you can think of. They are ready to eat their own food, to hunt and find their own food within hours of being born, or days of being born. Humans, it takes years. Years. That's a huge gamble in terms of evolution by means of natural selection. Now, that gamble in this case paid off. Unlike, for instance, outsized antlers or a weird giganticism, this gamble paid off. Humans are the dominant species on the planet. But nevertheless, that dominance comes about through an easily diagnosable adaptation, which is a huge brain, huge communication abilities. And that brain is a mass of convoluted tissue between your ears, and it is fed by oxygen-rich blood pumped by your heart. And that blood flowing through, coursing through, feeding your brain, allows the engrams of your brain, the tissues of your brain, to create memories, neural pathways, what you consider to be your personality, your identity, all of your memories, your outlook on the world, everything. It all comes from there. Hurt that or remove it, and everything goes away. So there's no sense saying that there's any part of your body that does that other than your brain. It's only your brain that does that. You are your brain. And as you deteriorate, or as catastrophe strikes and you die, once your heart stops pumping oxygen-rich blood to your brain, it dies. It darkens. It dries up. And when it dries up, it fritters away. It's extremely delicate tissue. And the minute it starts to starve, all of those neural pathways that were built up and sustained the whole time that you were alive and awake start to break down. And it doesn't take long to break down. I'm sure you know the phrase brain dead. But it doesn't take long for that to happen. So when you die, when your heart stops beating, that process sets in almost immediately. It takes a couple of minutes for it to set in. After a whole lifetime. It's not a very durable thing at all. Not like your bones. Your bones need a long time to go away. But your brain, it's the highest investment of energy in your body, and it's the one that's most perishable. And the minute it stops being refreshed with nutrients, it starts to die. And the stuff that's in it, those neural pathways, are not physical items. So when they start to die, they're gone. They don't go anywhere, and they can't be revived. Even if by some chance, after they dissipated, you would somehow revive the tissue of the brain, which is dissipating, it's deteriorating right along with those things. But if somehow you were able to do that, you still wouldn't have those pathways back. Those neural associations would still be gone. You'd have a blank slate to work from. So that's what happens when we die. When your heart stops beating, your blood stops refreshing your brain, and your brain goes dark, and then it starts to deteriorate. And everything that you were, all your memories, all your associations, all your favorite things, all your laughter, all of that, your personality, your quirks, it all goes away. It just dissipates. It was built up out of nothing, and it dissipates into nothing. It doesn't go somewhere. It doesn't retain its shape and go somewhere any more than a sandcastle that you build goes somewhere. When the water eats away at it, it just dissipates. You built it out of very fragile and temporary substances, and when those substances are washed away, it's gone. That's where we go when we die. We don't go anywhere. That's what happens when we die. Your brain deteriorates, and then your body deteriorates. Just the way it dissembles into inanimate, unconscious elements, the same way it assembled from those elements. Which makes this little window, when all of those synapses are firing in a way that, as far as we know, no other living organism has ever approached. Now, while all that is happening, is a time for you to make the most of it. Absolutely make the most of it. This tiny little window, at most 100 years of being you. And like I said, those neural pathways cannot be recreated. Once they dissipate, they're gone, which means there's never been anyone like you, and there never will be again. This is the one and only time that these things have combined this way. So don't waste it. Absolutely don't waste it. But where were we before I started sermonizing? What is your favorite action movie? I thought about this long and hard. I agonized about it a lot more than I agonized over what happens to us when we die. What happens to us when we die is fairly simple. You are surrounded all day long. Every day, and you have been your whole life, of examples of what happens when we die. You just don't want to think about it the way you think about it with other animals. But you are an animal, and you know what happens to other animals when they die. So, but anyway, I thought about this for a long time. I thought about Independence Day, of course, which is just so good. I thought about Aliens with an S, the sequel to Alien, the second Aliens movie, which is just so incredible. I say we do it. We nuke the whole installation from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Take off, nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. And also, Predator 2. I have a thing for sequels. Aliens, Predator 2, Jaws 2. Predator 2, he's in town with a few days to kill. Oh, man. I mean, Danny Glover is so terrible in it, and what's his name? Gary Busey is so terrible in it, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just so good. It's just so enjoyable. There's no killing what can't be killed. No stopping what can't be stopped. This thing is from the other side. But I think the top spot has to go to Jurassic Park. I really do. I don't think that there's any action movie that I like better than Jurassic Park, especially that awesome ending when the T-Rex saves the day and the banner flutters down in front of it when dinosaurs ruled the earth, just as it's bellowing in triumph over the velociraptors. That is just I think that would probably be my favorite one. Next question is, what is your favorite smell? For me, it is warm dog. I've had quite a bit of that today because we've closed the windows because of the pouring rain, so I've had a warm dog all day. The next question is, what is your least favorite smell? Of course, you're going to see this coming a mile away. It's tobacco, burning tobacco. There's nothing that 120 years of extremely advanced and extremely well-financed lab science can do to make it smell good. It reeks. It's the worst smell in the world, and the most noticeable one in the world. Someone steps out on their porch to light up. You can sense it half a mile away. You can smell it half a mile away in virtually no time at all. It's unbelievable how permeating and bad it is. So yeah, that was a predictable answer on my part. Then the next question is exercise. Is it worth it? It's very much worth it. I miss it. I miss exercise. It's very much worth it. Oh my, especially is it worth it in the area where it is least appreciated and least used in the 21st century. The 21st century is full of heavily uh, tranquilized couch potatoes. Young people who have been told since they were 6 or 7 that they are taking heavily uh, uh, weaponized animal tranquilizers for mood medication to alter their moods. They don't have anything mentally wrong with them. They don't have any mental conditions of any kind, but they've nevertheless been taking unbelievably strong medication for their whole lives, under the mistaken assumption that if you're ever unhappy, that means there's something biochemically wrong with you. And as the medications that these young people take, doesn't actually remove bad moods and replace them with good moods. It just removes all moods. It creates a horrible leveling effect, and who knows what the long-term effects of this stuff are. None of these medications, they're not actually medications because they're not fixing any kind of medical problem, but none of these drugs have long-term tested. Or if they have been long-term tested, you can guarantee the pharmaceutical companies that created them and marketed them and make billions from their use in America alone are not going to disclose those long-term effects. I think we can see some of those long-term effects all around us if we look. But nevertheless, one of the things that you can do to get rid of the need for anything like that is exercise. So many young people I know don't exercise at all. I'm not talking about my young weightlifters who do exercise, but it's not aerobic. Aerobic is better than anaerobic exercise, of course. And one of the main reasons is that anaerobic exercise has as one of its great attractions the fact that you can be a tobacco addict and still do it. Which is why every single fitness influencer on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter or wherever, you know, they on Instagram they post pictures of themselves with a great swole on, and they're holding the dietary supplement or the pre-workout mix that they've bought and hired to sell, but it's a photo shoot. They can't run. They can't run upstairs even, and they smoke all the time when they're not on camera. All of them do. And the only reason they get away with it when, for instance, they have fitness YouTube channels is because they're almost always lifting weights. They're almost always doing something that isn't aerobic. Because if you filmed them while they were doing something aerobic, you would get to watch them turn blotchy purple and puke up blood. So they don't show you that. Some of the worst of them, 1 or 2 that I have in mind, Instagram fitness models, will even fake pant for little Instagram TV, little Instagram snippets. They'll fake sweat and fake pant and then turn on the camera. Hey guys, just finished a 2-mile run. You didn't finish a 2-mile run. You didn't at all. Your skin is all rubbery. Your teeth are all stained with tobacco. You have your other social media are absolutely crammed with pictures of you on the hookah or with your vaping, your juuling. You did not just finish a 2-mile run. Couldn't do it if your life depended on it. But those things tend to obscure the fact that brisk physical exercise once a day is a miracle for mood, for the doldrums, for everything, even for blocks in creativity. There's an endless list of things that it is well researched to provide for you. That is, in my case, it's not so possible, but in young people's case, it's perfectly possible to do, and it's right there at their disposal, and they don't do it. Anyway, yes, it is definitely worth it. Just let's be sure that we understand what exercise is. Exercise is not exertion. Okay, so if you say, yeah, I'm not going to take the elevator, I'm going to take the stairs because I need some exercise, you're not getting any exercise, you're just exerting yourself. Exercise is doubled heart rate for 20 consecutive minutes. So if you're not doing that, if you're lifting a heavy box up from the attic, that's not exercise. Just so we're clear on that fact. But if you exercise, if you go for a light, not a rough thing, not a sprint of any kind, but a light jog, 3 miles. Oh my. At the end of that time, I remember I used to do that every day. Every night. I used to wait until sunset and then go every night. And I ran like a Clydesdale, so it took me forever. I ran very slowly and steadily and untiringly, and it took me forever to get 3 or 5 miles done. But it was always great. You just feel the cobwebs disappearing. And you relax better, eat better, sleep better, think better, write better. It's all just better. So yeah, it's very much worth it. I very much encourage. Uh, the next question is flat or sparkling. I have no idea what this means. I'm not going to choose when I don't know the context, but I have no idea, so I'm just going to skip it. The next one is, what is the most used app on your phone? For me, it would be Gmail, but it's closely followed by Voxer. I love me some Voxer. I leave my Voxer information on every video. I am perfectly happy to Voxer at any time with anybody. I love it, in fact, a little bit more than I like Gmail because I get a lot of emails in the day, a lot of them, and I can't get to all of them. It's just as simple as that. If I sat down and said, well, I do, in fact, sit down and say I'm going to do email, and I have time set aside, and I just go at it. But if I wanted to answer every email that I get in one day, it would be a day's worth of work. I couldn't do it. Much as I envy the zero inbox routine of productivity that you see on productivity YouTube channels, for instance, the idea being that you end every day with zero, with nothing in your inbox, an empty inbox. Much as I envy that idea, I don't think I could do it. There have been days when I came close. But whereas Voxer is so much easier in that regard. If for instance, somebody just wants to ask me, hey, what about this book? I heard about this and I don't know anything about it. What are your thoughts on it? It is so much easier for me to just hit a button on Voxer while I'm in between two different tasks and talk about it a bit than to sit down and compose an email. It's so much easier to do, and Voxer's more fun for ranting. So it'd be Gmail, but Voxer's right behind that. Then the next question is, you get one song to listen to for the rest of your life. What is it? And I thought about quite a few. I thought about My Little Town by Simon and Garfunkel, The Chain by Fleetwood Mac, Friends in Low Places by the great Garth Brooks. But I think probably if it was the rest of my life, the song that I would probably listen to would be Fool in the Rain by Led Zeppelin. Then the next question is, what number am I thinking of? Assuming that this questionnaire is made by someone in their 20s, I'm assuming the number will be 1, and that number 1 is you. You're the best that's ever been. And the last question in the Colbert Questionnaire, which is now the Colbert Questionert Tag, is describe the rest of your life in 5 words. And I thought about it for a bit. I thought about airy, artsy-fartsy, hallmarky type things. And then I came down to earth and realized what my 5 words were. They are, boy, does this book stink. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm consigned to for the 5 words that summarize the rest of my life. But I want to hear your answers to all of these things. So feel free to do this. I will leave the questions down below. I'm tagging everybody, so I'm not going to tag anybody. But I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.